It is just past 8 a.m. It is dead quiet. I don't even have my full cosplay on. We have practice around 9 a.m. Let's do this! Hello my dears and hello my darlings, it's your girl Horror Queen Cosplay, and I want to talk about my time at Castle Point Anime Convention this year in 2025. I've really only been attending Castle Point Anime Convention at its current Secaucus location for the past 3 years now, since 2022. However, back way in 2009, when they used to be in their old location in Hoboken, New Jersey, at the college that the convention comes from, it was my very first ever convention. Back when I was just starting to dip my toes into cosplay and I wasn't quite ready to start bringing it to conventions. It's a very special convention for me, and I was happy to once again attend just for Sunday this year with a few of my friends. That clip at the beginning of this video was the way my day started. I competed in the cosplay Masquerade, just in the skit portion of the competition, not in the hall/craftsmanship portion. And anybody who has ever competed in any cosplay Masquerade or competition at any convention, big or small, can attest that that is a long day. So let's talk about how my day went. So for starters, the cosplay that I put together was the character of Palm from the video game Cuisinier. It is an indie roguelike game that also combines a restaurant management style system a la Diner Dash. For half of the game, you spend traversing different dungeons, fighting different monsters and creatures, and collecting materials that you can use to cook recipes in your restaurant. You can also have full control over the decorations of the restaurant. The art design is adorable and the music is fantastic. I cannot recommend this game enough. I was absolutely obsessed with it last year and sunk 100 hours into it. So yeah, of course I was going to do a cosplay or two from it. Bonus, most of the costume actually came from my fabric stash of leftover materials, even wigs and gloves that I just had sitting in my closet, or from previous costumes. I repurposed the boots from a costume I never really got to wear. Same thing with the wig, and so on. It was really refreshing to not spend a lot of money on this project, but still feel super cute as well. The day started off very early. We had a 9 a.m. practice, but I got there early because I am an anxious being to practice the skit. Every single convention is different when it comes to their cosplay masquerades and skit competitions, but they always, at least they should, offer a practice session for all the competitors. It gives the lighting and sound crew an opportunity to test run and make sure everything is working properly, and gives you as the competitor an opportunity to see exactly how your performance will work on that particular stage dimensions. So what was extra nice about Castle Point is that since they are a smaller convention, they have a much smaller masquerade. It's very common now for a lot of medium to large size conventions to have upwards of 30 skits for their masquerades, and that includes all 3 skill categories. If you don't know and you've never competed in a cosplay competition, there's skill categories of novice/beginner, meaning you have never won a major award, intermediate/journeyman, which means you could have won upwards of somewhere between 1 to 2 or sometimes 3 major awards, and then master/advanced, meaning you've won at least 3 major awards. Major awards include a best in show or a best of category, and minor awards are things like a judge's choice or an honorable mention. However, do not get it twisted, those are still incredibly important and worthwhile awards. They are still huge and worth achievements, especially since that means that that specific judge really had a personal connection with your costume performance or any other aspect of that. Just as a little sidebar. So what was special about Castle Point is that they had far less than 20 skits, so it was a much shorter masquerade, and it also gave us the opportunity during practice that if you had already practiced and nobody else was ready to do so during that hour block, you could certainly practice a second or third time if you wanted, which definitely helped me out with my nerves. I was incredibly nervous about my skit, despite having been cosplaying since 2008 and competing for, dear goodness, about 10 years now, just over 10 years now, actually, at this point. I still get crazy anxious. Doesn't matter how big or how small the competition is. I'm usually shaking at some point. So if I'm overly social backstage, if you ever meet me or have met me before in a competition setting and I'm overly social or I'm shaking my leg or whatever, it's because that's me trying to fight back the anxiety. We all get it, no matter how many times you've competed before. So with my skit, I only had 1 minute and 30 seconds to perform since I was a solo skit. A lot of competitions will do time limits based upon how many people are entered in that particular group. And unfortunately, if you're a solo skit or you're a duo skit, in competitions like that, you tend to get the lesser time limit. That's okay. I managed to fit a 3-act musical play into 1.5 minutes with the right editing and the right pacing. However, because of that, my pacing of my skit was lightning fast and I could not miss a beat. I chose to do my skit based off of Hard Times by Paramore. I've been wanting to do a skit to that song for years now. I'm going to see if I can post the full skit separately. We'll see if YouTube takes it down or not, but we'll see. Don't worry, I'll share clips at least a little bit later. Since the point of the story of the Game of Cuisinier, Pom returns home from adventuring, finds that her parents' restaurant is closed and that there is a massive debt that her parents have taken out, and if it is not paid off, the restaurant will be taken away by a debt collector. So she has to pay off those debts. Otherwise, you know, she's fallen on hard times, so to speak. But don't worry, more on that later in the video. After I finished up my practice, they were very kind enough to allow me to store the backdrop that I had put together for my skit in one of their spare rooms. It's always super wonderful when a convention offers you the ability to store any stage props for your Masquerade skit. It made the day a lot easier than having to go back and forth to my car, or worst case, lug it around the convention center itself. I decided to add a backdrop to my skit that had a closed sign that could switch to open, as well as a piece of cardboard that was made to look like a foreclosure notice that was attached to the closed open sign with a magnet, and a secret hidden letter to be read out at the end of the skit, attached again by magnet to the back of the backdrop that looked like a door. It was an extra storytelling component to help the audience visually understand exactly what was going on, the restaurant. These props helped flourish a story that was already being told audio-wise. The backdrop also helped hide some hidden food props that I brought out on stage as well. Each piece that I brought on stage was used to tell the story for my skit, and that's deeply important. If you're going to do a backdrop for your skit or any sort of prop, make sure that it has a purpose and a function and you're not relying too heavily on it. That's just my little tiny piece of advice if you're ever looking to get into doing a Masquerade cosplay skit. Anyway, once I did that, I met up with some friends and we got to wander the convention. Castle Point Anime Convention, while still a small convention, is considered the largest student-run anime convention in, I believe, the country. Either way, it's still very impressive for especially a college-run convention. Frankly, any sort of convention in general. The volunteers work very, very hard at that convention, and it has a very unique artist alley that I walked around with my friends. We cruised around the little dealer's room as well, checked out some of the gaming areas, and my personal favorite, hung out in the main hall area and people watched. I love people watching other cosplayers and attendees at conventions and just chilling and talking to my friends as we watch the people go by, and also yelling out compliments to other cosplayers as well. What's the point of a convention if you're not a little bit social? I even squeezed in a nice photo shoot that I cannot wait to share the photos of on my social medias, which links below in my description, just saying. Finally, after a quick little snack / meal, it was finally time for the Masquerade. Now, if you are ever going to compete in a cosplay masquerade, you do need to be there early. You can't just show up right when the masquerade's supposed to start. You gotta get there early for lineup and check-in. I love chatting to other fellow competitors backstage and during practice. That's truly where the magic lies to me in cosplay competitions. Trading tips and tricks, complimenting each other, geeking out over each other's performances and costumes. I don't know 90% of the other series that is being performed because Castle Point is very heavy with idol and K-pop dances, but I was there for the energy and the vibes, and there was some really, really cool and impressive skits and performances this year. I didn't film a lot, but I have a few from practice and so on. Either way, I'm always impressed by the talent and creativity that other people bring to cosplay masquerades and competitions. Whether I'm a judge or a fellow competitor, I always love cheering people on. It's so much fun. Shout out to my friend Nyan Cosplay, who I will also be linking below, who did a really wonderful melodica-based skit and sang live on stage. Props to you, baby. And again, props to everybody who both competed, whether you won or lost. Everybody had such high energy on stage, and that's one thing that I might not be an idol or K-pop dancer, but y'all impress me so much with your energy. My knees cannot take that. My legs have been sore for the past 2 days post this convention. Oh boy. And also special thank you to the judges for taking on the incredibly tough and hugely responsible role of fairly judging all of these skits and craftsmanship pieces. It was a very, very good masquerade, and despite all of my nervous energy, your girl won Best Masters! I'm so happy. Like I said, I was so nervous about this particular performance. It warms my heart that it came across so well and that everybody seemed to really enjoy it. One of my friends even got everybody to start singing along to the chorus of the song, which just makes me want to cry. There's always a bit of an uphill battle whenever you cosplay something that's not widely known and you decide to make a cosplay masquerade skit out of it. You're essentially doing double the work than if you were to, say, do something like Pokemon that everybody knows about, in getting the audience to understand and come into a story with you. I consider it like an introduction into whatever piece of media you're cosplaying from. This is my 1 minute and 30-second pitch into why you should be playing Cuisinier or checking it out. I did fumble with a spatula flip. I was supposed to flip it up and catch it with a separate hand, but thankfully it's a song about messing up and falling on hard times, so everybody told me, oh, we thought that was supposed to happen, so I was shaking a lot. So once again, thank you to the judges. Oh my goodness. And like I said, everybody was so talented and it was so wonderful to watch everyone. Hopefully more people will post up their skits in the next few days. I will try my best to keep an eye out for them and link some of the skits that I find from Castle Point below. There was a Hello Kitty / Sanrio skit, the Best in Show winners, just everybody was screaming and crying, the emotion. There were so many cute dances and idols and Vocaloid cosplayers. It was a wonderful, wonderful show. I may not go here when it comes to idols and K-pop dances, but if I, as somebody who does not is not deeply ingrained into that world outside of watching the first season of Love Live can enjoy all of those performances and still enjoy the show, that's a huge testament to the performance themselves. Finally, before I wrap up this very quick video, let me show you guys what I bought. First off, I bought for $5 a little Kirby sticky note pad, which just made me cry with how cute it is. I've recently gotten into Kirby merch more. Just think he's adorable. I'm trying to save money and I don't spend as much at conventions as I used to, say, pre-2020. So I'm trying to be a good noodle, but I couldn't resist, so I could bring these to my office at my day job. One of the booths that had D&D and like board games related stuff gave me this to place on a mini for D&D. They're little status rings. They're super duper cool. There was a gacha booth and I could not resist the Hello Kitty Monster Hunter collab. I've really gotten into Monster Hunter this past year. Oh my goodness. And I couldn't resist pulling. I was tempted to pull for like 20, but I got a little old Batsmaru. He's just so angy and sassy. And I couldn't resist getting this Beatrice keychain from Umineko. Umineko is my favorite anime ever, and I almost never see people make merch from it, so I was legally obligated to buy this, and she's just beautiful. How could I not? Expect lots more Umineko cosplays from me. I used to do a lot of Umineko cosplays in the 2010s. I'm back on my nonsense and currently in the progress of working on multiple Umineko cosplays. Finally, one of my favorite artists was there. She does a lot of Call of Duty artwork, and every time I see her, I usually buy out her booth, and usually I see her every year at MagFest, but I saw her this year at Castle Point, so I couldn't resist getting a little charm of the 141 boys from the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 reboot. I have a good chunk of most of her charms and pins already in some, yes, Ida bags. But I didn't have this one, so I could not resist getting this one because you're just so cute. It's just a very unique little charm. I really liked it. And finally, one of my photographer friends, Conpix, was doing little Polaroids. I love it when people do Polaroids at conventions. There was a brief time I had a Polaroid project at a few conventions pre-2020. I feel like I need to fix up my old Polaroid camera and just start doing that again. Just documenting cosplayers through Polaroid film and all of that. Either way, it was special. I didn't buy a lot, but what I bought I'm really excited about, and that's what counts in this economy. So Castle Point, while being a small convention, it is one I highly recommend. Personally, despite having been someone who has competed in larger scale events, I still like either competing or judging or just participating in any way at smaller events because that's essentially the local community. I talked with a lot of people that I have competed with or against at other conventions before, and it was nice to see a lot of new faces or say, hey, I remember you from this XYZ convention. Nice to like actually talk to you. So it was really, really wonderful and refreshing. It was a nice little day trip. I feel rejuvenated. I feel revitalized. I feel excited and ready to take on the rest of my projects through the summer. It's very easy to get lost in your own head with a creative hobby like cosplay, and it's important to engage in it socially in person any way that you can, whether it's taking photos with friends, going to a smaller local event, or maybe doing even just a live call where you're crafting with a bunch of friends. Engaging in it socially outside of just a few comments on social media is really, really refreshing and can stave off the burnout. I am ready to tackle everything on. I have been working on a Princess Peach related cosplay for almost a year now. Her purple space outfit from her Showtime game. It's slightly killing me, but I'm ready. I feel motivated post Castle Point to just tear through that dress. I hopefully will also make a YouTube video talking about my craftsmanship and process for that dress when I finally finish it. But like I said, I had a really, really wonderful time at this convention. My next con that I have officially confirmed, who knows if something might pop up before then, is TinyCon in July that I will be guesting at, and I'm so excited. Please do check out TinyCon, especially if you want to try competing for the first time, or you have once before and you want to do it again, or maybe you're like me and you've been competing for several years and you just want to have that small convention, lovely, wholesome experience. I definitely recommend checking out TinyCon. Link will also be below. So thank you so much for watching. Did I see you at Castle Point? Let me know, and hopefully I will see y'all soon. Bye, cuties!